It wouldn't be remiss to say they've basically saved the best to last. This is Asma Khan, who is one of my favourite chefs, absolute favourite chefs in the world, I'm going to say. One of the best things about Asma's food, as you will see, is you really feel the love coming through the food. And it's all about the food stories. Basically, my job today is to talk as little as possible so we can hear Asma talk as much as possible. And this is Asha, her assistant, who's going to be helping along. And we'll just welcome you with a bit of a round of applause. What are we making today?
Right, so what we are going to make is something that every household makes, and this is a Safed Murg korma. And korma has, unfortunately, a very bad reputation now, because when you go to restaurants, you get something that is more like a sharbat, because it's soaked in sugar, it has no flavor, and a lot of it has saffron in it, which is fine, but it is not the normal food we eat at home. You know, we do not put saffron in our everyday food. So this is just a very ordinary, straightforward korma, and there are two kinds of things that you could use to thicken the korma. What I am using is something that is easier for everyone else to find. This is a Hyderabadi dish, the Safed Murg korma, the one I'm making. This is why it's so simple, because actually Hyderabadis, the women are very glamorous, the food is very simple. So they keep their, they don't go over the top. So everyone has a misconception Hyderabadi food is very complicated. It's not. They just get it right. It's very minimalist. And I'm using ground almond to thicken it. Hyderabadis use poppy seeds. But as poppy seeds are very expensive, difficult to find, and a bit of a faff to prepare, because you've got to soak it in water for a while, otherwise you can't grind it. So this, you can grind it very easily. You sometimes get it ground already. So this I don't mind. I often buy it already ground, so I don't make my life more difficult than I have to. So this is what we're going to be using to thicken. I just want to introduce the ingredients. I'm using chicken thighs. If I'm making it at home, and I think most of y'all would, make it with bone in it, because bone has all the flavor. But because this is the kind of theatre where people will taste it and bone becomes complicated, I have gone for boneless thigh. Whatever you do in your life, do not use chicken breast. It is absolutely the worst thing possible. It does not absorb flavors. Spices don't go through. And so however smart a chef you are, unless it will not penetrate through. And it's just one of those things that is very dry. So it's not the best kinds of, a lot of people do prefer to use chicken breast. I prefer to use chicken thighs because chicken thighs actually will absorb flavor. It can take a lot more cooking without drying out, because it's a meat that has actually got more fat on it. Breast is a lot drier, so I never use chicken breast. So anyway, so we're going to use chicken thighs. It's been cut into chunks. And with yogurt as well, when you're cooking, do not use low-fat bio yogurt. I mean, don't look at my size. It's not that, I use everything full fat.
Do not.
No, do not, because I think the problem is that you do need the fat when you're cooking. And so what's going to happen is that the yogurt which has got no fat in it is going to split. So you have this kind of horrible grainy bits, and then water, which is the kind of, it's not a good look to have in your korma. So, have less of it if you're watching your weight or whatever, but so this has got 10% full fat, any kind of Greek yogurt, full fat yogurt. So this is basically, I'll talk about the ingredients as I go along, but I know most of you are probably established chefs, or think you are, or know someone in your family who's cooking. I just want to kind of briefly talk about the importance of getting the onions right. If you take the trouble to cook, the most important thing is that, cook and feed your children with love. They will grow up and they will move on or whatever. Don't get so into that this is, not good for... The important thing is you cooking for your child or your family and eating with your family. Oil can go and come, it doesn't matter.
See, it's all about love.
Right, so I have no idea how this works.
I can help you with that bit.
Yeah, so this is hot,
This
right?
is hot,
Okay. So we just wait for it to heat up a bit. And I'm just trying. This is an old, I'm sure I'll use this to see whether the oil is hot or not. Because one thing is that if you put in onions and in cold oil, it's just a disaster, because the onions will just sit there and become soggy, which is the last thing you need. But you don't want burned oil either. Yeah, keep going.
It's amazing how you check the temperature just by putting your hand over it. It's like
Well, when I was learning how to cook, invariably my finger would go in. which is not very pleasant. So I'm slightly more skilled now.
I'm gonna move this way.
Yeah. Right, so is it possible to get another bowl or get this?
Yeah, the last one.
Yeah, just use one of these.
So when you talked about chicken thighs,
Yeah.
I saw a whole bunch of eyebrows just kind of raise up like, what? I shouldn't use chicken breast? What?
Does everyone use chicken breast? Is that what you think? This is my personal opinion. I think that chicken thighs are much better. They can take more heat and they absorb flavors. Chicken breast doesn't, it doesn't go. Sorry, this is the onions. I'm not crying because of any
So
other
you
reason.
guys using chicken breast, that's
Yeah, and the thing is that, if children prefer chicken breast, my son does. I've lost the battle with him. But I then refuse to cook using Indian food. He can have grilled chicken and whatever. He's a 16-year-old boy who's like into building his body. So he just eats. So I said, fine, you grill your chicken, I'm not going to do it. Because I refuse to make it. I hope at some point, inshallah, he grows up and he realizes that, when you cook Indian food and you're cooking it in a sauce, I'll just get rid of this. You don't do it this way. Please put my hands
Sasha,
down.
while you're doing the chicken, we just got a question in the audience there, I think.
About going to the gym, I go to the gym and I avoid it breast. Is that the healthiest part of the chicken? Why it's slightly fat, right? So you say you're talking more.
Yes.
So the question is just for you guys who couldn't hear, the question is chicken breast the healthiest part of the chicken because the thigh is a bit more fatty?
Yes,
right?
it is. It is. And the thing is, I have this problem with my son who's 16 and then he kind of intimidates me by telling me, because he's boxing, he told me, you know what's going to happen? I'm going to become fat, I'm going to go on a bigger boob. And then he showed me this really big guy. I said, I'll be fighting him. So I said, fine, chicken breast, no problem. Because I do not want you to be the next weight up because I don't want him beaten out of, by this big guy. But yes, it is true, the chicken has less fat. But then do other things with it, use yogurt. You use yogurt and grill it. Yogurt is, it's going to act as a buffer with the heat of the chicken. So it won't allow the chicken to dry out. So this is, imagine that this is something that is actually quite dry as well. In this thing that I'm making, chicken breast will not work because the thing is that it won't allow all the things. So there's always a space and time for different kinds of things. This one, not breast. And if you're cooking with chicken breast, all of you, if you want to use it, make things with yogurt on it, marinate it, cut it in slices so that the flavors go in. So take the chicken breast, cut, some really deep gashes on it. Just little things that you can do to improve the flavor. I absolutely would not cook with it, but that's my personal thing because I don't like it. But I have to cook it because of my son, I do it. But I do all these little things and it does improve the flavor for sure. Marinating always does. Marinating always does. So, if you are cooking with chicken, whatever you're marinating it with, give it time, slash it. So it does improve the flavor a lot, putting that in. Right, so while she's doing that, I'm going to add the Greek yogurt to this. All of it. I'm not doing I'm half Bengali, and in Bangladesh and in West Bengal, they add raisins to the korma. I don't do it because I met a remarkable number of people who hate raisins. So, I just don't do it because I just think that if I'm cooking for lots of people, I don't need to add the raisins. But traditionally, you could add raisins, but we're not doing it. We're making a very neutral, please everybody, family korma. So nothing that will offend anyone in this, hopefully.
We should do a raisin check. How many people here don't like raisins? Oh yeah,
Wow.
seriously, look at that.
No, this is like, I realize this with my work, that I know it's traditional to put raisins, but people dislike raisins. And I think the problem is that in our countries, in South Asia, raisins are considered very high-end, not easy to get. Although the prices have come down now because China is flooding India with all this cheap stuff. But, for a while, raisins would come from Kashmir or come from Hyderabad, and they were considered, so it was a very, but I don't know, I'm not a huge fan. You need to add sugar, some sweetness to something, add sugar, which I am going to add sugar. And I'm probably depressing with the amount of fat and sugar I'm talking about, but I'm making something which is nice. It's not going to taste sweet and full of fat. Okay, so that's I will get rid of that. And this is ginger garlic crushed fresh. The lovely people in the back had a jar of ginger garlic, which they offered me. And if you can, please use fresh ginger garlic or frozen ginger garlic. The one in the jar has a smell in it. There are either preservatives or there's oil in it. And it's always good to have some in the cupboard as a backup. You know, frozen ginger, frozen garlic, which you can put in the freezer, is perfectly fine. And the day you're completely mad or you're very lucky and your mother-in-law comes to the house, make your mother-in-law peel your ginger garlic and crush it, tell her the instructions. She's all going to go to feed her son or something like that, if she believes you. But try and use fresh ginger garlic. What is very valuable are your hands and your time. You're putting some effort into cooking something. Take the trouble. It's these little things that will transform your dish. It does make a difference. And some things, you can take the quick option. But some things you can't. So fresh ginger and garlic or frozen ginger and garlic, and they're not that expensive. You can buy them online, on Tesco, Asda, everywhere. Put in your freezer, take out a cube, use it. But please don't use powder. I'm sure nobody does. But yeah, powder is like death. But the next one is after that is horrible, is the jar one. I'm sorry, I know
Powder
they...
is like death. Just don't do it.
Yeah.
It's very serious.
Right, so as you can see, I'm cooking traditional style. I'm not giving you measurements for anything. But I don't know how many, two teaspoons of onion, ginger and garlic.
Is it really difficult to write a cookbook when your recipes are approximate?
I have a contract and I have a literary agent who's still talking to me, luckily. But my cookbook is running very late. I'm supposed to have done 100 recipes, I've done 10. Yes! But I'm very late. It's a nightmare because the problem is that this is not how we cook. We don't measure, we don't weigh. I don't have a weighing scale in my kitchen at all. I don't have these stupid measuring spoons or whatever they are. Every spoon is different for me because I have a matching cutlery set which I use on the table. The ones in my kitchen drawer, each spoon is different. That's how it is. I'm sure that's the case with everybody in the house, that you've got random stuff in your kitchen. So yeah, it's a problem, and it's getting to be stressful. So
yeah, maybe I should buy you a weighing scale.
No, I won't use it.
I want one.
I won't use it. I won't use it. Right, so this is taking forever, unfortunately, but it always does. But you don't need to do a lot to it. But you need to start paying attention to it when it starts getting crisp on the outside. Because what you don't want is the ones that are at the bottom to catch. Because on this one it won't catch, but it will burn. It will burn. So I don't know how much you all can see. Can you see?
You can see that right there.
Okay. Oh yes, you can see that.
You can see that.
So the thing is that there are some... I need to wash my hands. Okay. So this is just, again, even though I'm not using chicken breast, it's a very simple thing. It saves, it doesn't take any time. It increases the flavor of your dish. Marinate, always, always. Even if it's 5 minutes, 10 minutes, give yourself time. So when you go in there, just put in yogurt, put in the garlic ginger. It just adds the flavor to the dish. So, can we use it in this one, or should we transfer it here? Huh? Right, so as this is going to take time, I'm going to transfer the onions. I'm going to use these, the ones I've already. So basically, in the end, this is going to end up looking like that. And what you have to do is you have to drain the onions out of the oil and spread them out, not on kitchen paper. That's really important because it will not allow it to become crisp like this. This is very crisp. So you put them out, spread them out on metal trays, anything. Just leave them out to dry. It will become like this. You can keep this in your kitchen or in your fridge for days. So the day, so you don't have to keep making onions all the time. This is a really important trick I learned from my mother, and it has made it so much easier because when I want to cook, I just put on the oil and I put the scale in it. This is what I'm going to do. So we just need a bowl in which to take all this. Yeah. Asha, can you just take it out?
Plenty of those.
Yeah. Just empty it out and then.
Asma, are these onions the same kind that you can kind of buy from the Asian supermarket?
Yeah. This is a standard onions. I mean, the thing is that the oversized ones, the Spanish ones, which you sometimes can get in 20 kg bags. I'm sure none of you all do it, I have to do it, because of the kind of cook. They have a lot more moisture in them, so they take longer. But in the end, it will happen. We need to add some oil. Asha, can you tell us some oil? You may need some oil from inside.
Fine.
Yeah. Yeah, just give me the oil. Yeah? Sorry, this is just... I'm just waiting for some more oil.
How's this?
Not olive oil. Sorry. Oh, I'm sure all of you all know. Never olive oil.
Never olive oil.
No?
Really? Why?
Yes. Olive oil will clash with spices. Zara, get me the sunflower oil. So, this is another thing that people think they can use olive oil. Olive oil is a disaster for our cooking. Because it's not meant for our cooking. And even for bhartas and things like that, which you don't cook, use mustard oil, you know. Olive oil is not, it's a healthy oil, but it's not, you know, make a salad, use pasta, it's not a problem. Do not try and do this fusion confusion. It doesn't work. This is sunflower oil?
Yes.
Sorry, I know, I trust you.
No,
I'm
it's
just checking.
fine. I wouldn't trust me either, to be
I'm
honest.
just checking. Zora and I have worked a lot together. A lot. So it's, in fact we did a 12 episode shoot. Yeah.
We filmed 12 episodes of, I did this show called The Curious Foodie on British Muslim TV, and Asma is in every single one of them. So the series is 12 episodes, and we filmed about 4-minute segments 12 times in the space of a couple of hours. It was
Yeah.
really short. It was the fastest filming I've ever done, and it was one take for every single one. It was
Oh, I
amazing.
can talk non-stop. This is an advantage because when I was in school, I studied in Calcutta. I went to a girls' school where, you know, we were not allowed to do a lot of things, but we had a kind of, an English teacher who was really into drama. I played Shakespeare, and you have to learn a lot of lines, and then you can't be afraid once you get on stage. So this is years of playing every Shakespearean character in the world. I played Shakespeare for my entire school life, and I loved it. I loved acting. So yeah, so the thing is that the oil is now hot. There's still some onions in there, but it doesn't matter. The standard garam masala, so bay leaf, cinnamon, cardamom, and cloves.
You can store them all in the same box, that's okay?
Yeah,
Oh, nice.
yeah, you can. Okay, so you wait for garam masala to swell. Now this is something, it's just the heat has to come through because this means that the oils, the natural oils are being released. Now you've got to act a bit quickly because it's already in there. And so you don't need to brown anymore and the chicken goes in.
Oh, this is that big sizzle.
Should move this. Don't be scared with all the oil that comes on top. You don't need to serve that. I need this higher. Is this the highest?
Yeah,
Oh,
it's the highest.
That's fine. I've just been working in the kind of commercial kitchen recently. So this is how it is in my house as well. But when you're in a commercial kitchen, it's great. The fire is like this big. I love that.
For anyone who hasn't been yet, Asma does a fantastic supper club in her home, which is absolutely fantastic. It's called Darjeeling Express. I would absolutely look it up if you get a minute. And anything coming up in the next couple of months?
The next one's on the 24th of September.
24th of September, there you go.
Yeah.
It's sold out because you've always
No, I haven't listed it as yet.
Always, okay, good.
Because I'm still thinking whether I want to make biryani or not. I've been making biryani so much recently, I'm fed up.
Oh, really?
But, yeah,
You're
but-
fed up with biryani?
No, I can eat my own biryani forever. But I'm fed up of making for
Yeah.
huge pots of biryani and then carrying it around the whole of London.
I used to get sick of biryani in the summer when I was a kid because it's at every wedding, every weekend during the summer. Does
Yeah.
anyone else get sick of biryani? No, just me. Okay.
Okay.
Oh, here you go. We can be friends.
Okay, so the thing is that things like korma, milder salads, I will not use the word curry because it's not our word, okay? This is the Gora's curry. But the milder dishes that we have normally do not have ground cumin seeds in it. It's only ground coriander seeds. And this is something that is part of the Mughlai cooking tradition. It seems to have changed when people have gone to Pakistan for some reason. But old-fashioned Mughlai recipes, if you look at them, dishes like this, which have got yogurt, which are milder, they never ever had cumin in them. And so if you find all the old recipes, you'll find, but for some reason it has changed and people are adding cumin because this is like standard, you know, you add cumin and it's not. You never ever add cumin. So here you only add coriander, ground coriander. Okay, maybe everyone is watching me so I should do it nicely.
Pretend you measure it.
Yeah, no, that I won't pretend. I'm just going to pull it out on a spoon so instead of like randomly throwing it around. I love cooking. I wouldn't do this if I didn't love cooking. I think that, you know, and the thing is, if you don't feel like cooking on that day, get takeaway. I want to eat McDonald's, you know, if I'm not bothered to cook. But if you are cooking, then, you know, listen to music, give yourself the time, be at peace. Because actually it reflects the food you cook. It is how you feel. If you're not in the mood to cook, really, I think your family should understand. You're tired, you don't want to cook, you know, everyone can have sandwiches. No one's going to die by having sandwiches one day. Get pizza takeaway. If you cannot, you know, don't want to have takeaway food, something in the house. But don't cook if you're not in the mood to cook. This is not a chore. It is. Anyway, so this is the color that's coming up. I need to find the chili powder. Yeah. Now this is a very mild dish. So I don't know how hot this chili powder is. I'm not going to bother to taste it. But you don't put a lot of chilies in it. It's a very, kormas are always mild. I mean, they're not supposed to be like sweet like sharbat, but they're not spicy. And this is why it's quite a nice dish to have when you have lots of people over. Because some kids, some older people, whatever, you know, don't want to have very spicy food. Okay, so this is looking fine. And
So you're not going to die if you just
I need salt.
Where is this? We had salt a minute ago.
I was told there's salt in a grinder or something.
Oh, is one of these salt, you think?
Yeah, but I need to know which one.
This one. Definitely this one.
Okay, fine.
So you're not going to die if you eat a sandwich one day for dinner, but do not use powdered ginger.
Yeah.
Just so you know.
This is perfect, but I have no idea how much salt is gone in. I can't see. Anyway, so always keep tasting your food once the chicken is safe. Because right now it's still not completely cooked. I can never understand people who cook without tasting. Hygiene is really important. Do not put the same spoon back, obviously. Nobody will do that. You taste it, put the spoon away, put the spoon away. It doesn't matter. I've ended up sometimes cooking where I've had 20 spoons which I've used over the whole day. But tasting is very important because it changes all the time. Adding salt in the end is never a good idea. Because if you are undersalted or you're oversalted, you can rectify it at this stage. Like right now, if I put too much salt, I just need to put a raw potato in here, or do something, or add some more yogurt. I can rectify it now. There's no point not tasting it now, not knowing what's happening, and then trying to rectify it later on. And salt as well. We want the salt to go in. So now all the flavors are going into the chicken. If it's undersalted, the chicken will not have that flavor. It's very small, simple things. And again, cookbooks or whatever, if you learn to cook, don't explain this. So now my chicken is all safe, so I'm going to taste and see. And then I think it's salt, I don't know what happened.
We'll find out if we use too much or too little. What do you think?
I just need a bit more.
A bit more.
Yeah, that's fine. Okay, so there's a lid. Zohar, come here and please lower it. I don't know how to. The sugar goes at the very end. And then I need it lowered to, so it was on 9, I'm lowering it to 4. Maybe. Yeah, so you know you're simmering at the right temperature, you're not boiling it off and drying it out. If there are just occasional bubbles. So you can see it visually, there are occasional bubbles. If it's still bubbling very hard, lower it more and more. This, you have to cook by sight. Measurements and temperature and high heat, low heat, doesn't make sense. It says put on low heat, what is low heat? I learned to cook the hard way. Now see these books that say what is low heat? I have no idea. But it's just that it's here, it's occasionally bubbling. This is fine, this is simmering. So if it was like really furiously still bubbling, that's too high. If I would go down one more. Yeah, that's fine. Just hope that it cooks. Okay, so while this is happening, not me, Asha, because she's better than me, I want to show you how to make Lakshadar paratha. It's called Bedki paratha in other places. There are different ways to curling this paratha. The dough is a standard dough. And maybe because my mother's Bengali, we add a pinch of sugar. There is a difference in flavor. I don't know why. It's just something. A pinch of sugar to the dough. So this is around 500 grams. This, I'm just guessing now. Yeah, 500 grams, half teaspoon of salt, and a little bit of oil, and it has rested. With our food, and I think with all of us as well, we all need to be rested occasionally. So with your dough as well, give it time, let it rest, because you can always do other stuff in between. Because I think that it relaxes, it's easier, it's much less stressful. There are times when I have made paratha where I have rolled it and the paratha has rolled back. So I'm sure it's happened to all of you all. Because it's just, the dough has not relaxed. So you're rolling it, and it's rolling back again, becoming this small. And there's no point fighting it, because it's not ready. You know when your dough is ready, because it's relaxed, you can just actually work with it. And it just takes a bit of time. How much stress it is for you, if you're in a rush, everyone can wait. The paratha can come after 10 minutes. But the stress of you trying to fight with dough, that's nature. It's not ready. So don't force the issue. Okay, so Asha is, normally for our supper clubs, we end up making like 100 parathas. We have a kind of, it's like a production line of women. A huge team of women, and we are sometimes crazy. We had once a paratha supper club where we made 8 kinds of parathas.
Oh my god.
Mooli paratha, aloo ka paratha, gobi paratha. It was just parathas. And there was a little bit of chutney, and I think we did 1 kofta. This is the worst idea in the world. I mean, we were in tears at the end of it. So yeah, stuffed paratha is not easy. So I'm not doing stuffed paratha on stage. I learned my lesson. This is a pretty standard paratha, but I'm trying to make it more interesting by showing you how to roll it. Is it ready to roll?
So maybe we can switch Asha to here so you can see
Okay.
on the screen.
Yeah, Asha, can you come this side? Because now I got this. Yeah. Can you all see her now?
See that?
Yeah.
Perfect.
You need some oil, right?
Maybe a little bit forward if you could.
Forward this way?
Yeah.
Yeah.
That's great. See it. So
How much?
the question is, how much water did you add to assemble the dough?
I don't know.
This is the thing we find. Asma doesn't know how much, she just knows exactly the right amount. That's
See, the thing is, you can see YouTube videos where there's people who give you very exact measurements. Try it. But I'm sorry, I'm not that kind of cook. No, so you know when it's ready. But yeah, I couldn't tell you. I'm trying to see whether I could give you some vague idea. I can't even do that. Because I literally add the water as I'm mixing it, and so no, there's no measurement. This is white.
which type of flour?
This is white. This is white, standard flour. You can make it with wholemeal as well. But the thing is that the Lakshadar paratha that you have in where I come from, which is near Lucknow, this is standard. They use a lot of ghee. I haven't. Because this is unnecessary ghee. Stuff that is unnecessary fat, I'm not going to have. I'm too big in any case. So the thing is that what Asha has done, on that paratha, she's put a layer of oil. This is sunflower oil. Ghee is so much nicer, but we didn't do it because they didn't have ghee. But but otherwise you can put ghee. The other option, if you really want to spoil yourself, is melt the butter. But do not obviously try and put cold butter. But when you're melting butter, very important, butter burns very quickly. It's not like ghee. So it's just literally, just get it to melt a bit. Because after that it gets this burnt brown thing, and it has a completely horrible taste. Has a burnt taste. Okay, so there, and what she's done is she's put a sprinkling of the flour, the dry flour. And now she's going to, there are different ways to cook. So this is like a sari fold. She's just layering it like this. So it goes as if you're folding a sari. You know when you're doing the sari folds? Or even when you're doing your dupatta. So it just folds up. This is a very quick, and this actually comes out the paratha very, very nice, easy to roll. And now she's rolling it around like a snake. Tucking in the edge. And so it's going to end up looking like this. And there are different ways of doing this. This is the very old-fashioned way that the Khatmas would do for weddings. Because there they didn't have, space was limited, and you had to do huge numbers of paratha. But so the paratha has a very different look. There are different ways of doing it. So some people cut the side and roll it. It takes a lot of time. But you end up with this same look. But this is very quick. Again, this is something that looks, and people have forgotten to fold it like this. But this is how the Verki paratha was originally folded. This is the traditional way to do it. It's a lot faster. You don't need to actually have a knife, cut it, don't need to do other stuff, which there are different techniques. Try this, so if you do make lachhadar paratha, this is very quick. Asha's just going to do one more and show you. I'll just
It's
check.
also really pretty. It looks like a flower or something.
It is. It's prettier. I try to cook the way that my grandmother would cook, because she's the one who taught me how to cook. And I think that there are some things that the way that they cooked is good to adopt. They actually were smarter than we think. They cook day and day out. Asha can do it slowly. So has everyone got that? So she just layers the first one, and it's literally like folding it. Like you're doing a fan. When we make fans.
Fold it over.
Yeah, fold it over, and then it looks like, so it's all in one pile, and then you turn it around, and you just curl it. But this is how parathas used to be made always. But somehow or the other it's fallen off and no one does it anymore. But we make it like this always. Right, so this is now ready to roll. Yeah, so it has rested a bit. And
Asma, why do you rest it?
I love her answer. She said, why do you roll it? She said, because it's English atta.
So it needs to rest.
No. It's just to do with the gluten. The gluten has to relax. So when you knead it, the gluten is released, and then it actually has to kind of assimilate, it stretches. It's the kind of molecules that make up the flour. So they get stretched when you knead it. So here again it's been kind of manipulated. It's been twisted around. And it is just for it to come back to kind of where it was before. Like if someone cocked you and wrapped you around.
It's happened.
Yeah, I know, it's happened to all of us. It's just to get it to rest and to bring it back to where it was before. Changing things and dealing with the cracks in the kitchen, like something's got fire, sometimes we burn the onions, like 20 kgs, something happened. Nobody clicks, someone is cutting it already, the next batch of onions. So this kind of thing of adapting, resourcefulness, multitasking, I think all of us women, we don't recognize the skills we have. And maybe our families don't give us the credit that is due, but it is amazing because I work in a commercial thing. I've built my business on women who are home cooks. And I've learned from them. I've learned patience from them. I've learned how they can actually do 2-3 things at the same time. And we built a team. We have this kind of great friendship, sort of singing in our kitchen. And so women have this, but they just don't recognize it. Cooking is not straightforward. Never undervalue a dish that you've made. You should look at it and say, I made this. Because actually you should be happy every time you cook. This is something someone else can't do. It's your effort. It's your time. You stood there, you made it. Value your time. Maybe then everybody else will also value what you've done for them. I think one of the problems is that we don't value our own effort. We feed people, because I think they're just going to cut it into squares for everybody. And you can see this paratha is not at all oily. So you don't need to, as long as you rest the dough several times, and we did rest it after we made it, and we added some oil to it, not ghee. Treat yourself. Paratha has a bad reputation, poor things. That's because our families tend to put so much ghee in it, they kill it. This is not got that much ghee in it, but it's so nice compared to pitta that you can buy or naan. This is so much nicer. You made it at home. It's fresh. It's hot. It's not been reheated. It's got no preservatives. And make your kids make the dough. Maybe teach them how to make round things. Get your family involved. It's not that much effort. So much better than trying to heat a pitta in the toaster. I know nobody may end up doing the paratha, but please try, okay? The day you have a bit of time, make the effort, because it really is such a better bread than what you can buy. Can you imagine the pitta that you're taking home from the packet? Has got preservatives, has been processed, has been made in a factory. Look at this. When you make it yourself, it's different. Okay.
Asma, I have a stupid question for you. What's the difference between a paratha and a roti in terms of how you make it?
Big difference, because paratha, you always have different ways of, you have to add fat in the middle. So, you've had parathas which are square, so you fold it in different ways, but you always have and it is always white flour, can be brown flour, but it has fat in it. Roti doesn't have fat in it.
So the
This
paratha
is-
is heavier.
Paratha is heavier
Right.
because always has fat in it. Roti, you never add fat because this almost the fat was added when it's been cooked. Roti is never, you never add tail to it at any or ghee at any point to it. So there is a big difference. You can also make, you can make roti with rice flour, so it doesn't normally have to make it made with atta. You ready? Yeah. So the pan is dry. You haven't put any oil in there. So you wait for it to cook through because otherwise it's going to be raw inside. And so you cook it first without adding any oil to it. So keep turning it around till it actually browns. I need to think this is done.
How long is the chicken supposed to be cooking for? Oh, is this another one of those questions where it's like I don't know, at some point you'll just know?
No, I need a small plate and you should try it.
Small plate?
Yeah.
Oh, can you do this?
Yeah. I don't want to drip this on there.
There we go.
There is no way of looking at to see whether something is cooked visually, huh? You have to cut it and try it. I'm trying to find a spoon.
I have knives and no spoon. Hang on. This way.
It looks cooked, but Gotcha? Okay, yeah. We need to cut this into segments. I want everyone to come and try it, huh? I don't know whether I'm allowed to do that. Let someone come back. I'm sure I am. I'm the last person in any case, no one else is coming. So we can break all the rules. So if they have rules about not feeding, I think it's very unfair. You watched me for so long, you have to try it at least. And I'm very happy to get feedback. This is a very light korma. See, all this rubbish of putting raisins and almonds and all kills it. Because it's just, then you don't make it because it's a rich, heavy dish. This is not a rich, heavy dish. It's so straightforward.
Well,
Can they taste?
yeah, but I guess at the end would be good. Well, let me just check once. Yeah, I guess at the end would be good.
Yeah. I can't hear you.
At which stage do we add the frying onion? The onion right at the beginning, right? It's already in there.
No, sorry. I think you came a bit late. So, we took it out and we replaced it with this. We don't want to waste time.
It was his one we've done earlier.
Yeah. So it's just that this is one of those things that this is the one I did earlier. So if I continue to try that, it will take it 15 minutes and all of you will be completely bored and run away. So just try to hold on to all of y'all. I took out the onions and just replaced it with this. It should have ended up looking like this.
Okay, so did you add the whole garam masala after the onion?
No, before. Always add the garam masala. The garam masala is the one that infuses the flavor. Garam masala, then the onions. And if you were doing the onions, you still would have to drain the onions out. And then the garam masala, then the onions go back. The garam masala should be in a clean oil, without clean as in, already the onions have been fried in it. But because you want them all not to burn and not to be, they won't actually release the oil if they're stuck with all the onions. So you need the pan to have nothing. Okay? Just take it out. Okay, where's the sugar? I have sugar somewhere.
Actually, right here.
Yeah.
And
So I'm adding, we need to cut those. Okay, I'm adding a touch of sugar, more than a touch. And now we're just going to add a bit of ground almond. Don't add too much because you don't need it. You don't go over the top. So this is like 1 tablespoon. I'm sorry, I'm cooking in a very traditional way. I don't know. You can measure it.
add some.
No. I'm at 1 tablespoon. 1 tablespoon. So it just makes it slightly thicker. And if you're really in the mood and I don't know, some guys come to get, you want to impress someone, then you can kind of make it very rich. But this is really unnecessary fat. Some of our food has unnecessary fat which we don't need. Almonds and nuts and all of that, nuts have a lot of fat in them. They're not good for you. Some nuts are, but they're not the nuts we use for our cooking. We don't use, Brazil nuts and, walnuts. So the nuts that has relatively healthier, we don't use. We use cashew nuts which are really bad for you. I need to move this, it's smoking like mad. So, yeah, just don't set fire to the wires, Asha, it's hot.
Yeah.
Okay, I need another spoon to taste the sauce.
Oh, I just used the other
Sorry.
Hang on. I think you're not.
Who? I don't know how to switch it off. Okay.
There we go. 2 more.
Yeah. Spoon, it's okay. I
I
know
don't
this.
have any spoons.
Oh, let's just wash this spoon. That's fine, it's fine. No, it's fine.
That was very useful, Ash.
No, that's fine.
What do you think?
I think I need a touch of salt. Asha, will you taste it? Use a fork.
Do you always get a second opinion?
Yeah. Usually my poor kids. Usually my poor kids. Yeah, I think so. But
Yeah, I thought it needed salt too. That's what I thought.
Sarah, you're the boss. Chini, do I need something? Sugar?
So a bit right here. Bit of sugar.
So now how is everyone going to taste it?
Well, we'll put it outside. The table is gone. We'll put it here, and I'll see if I can find some
Huh?
spoons.
Yeah. So the thing is that this paratha, can you all see? Can you see the layers? And it's not full of fat. It looks very pretty. So here you can see the edges. And it was very quick. So do try it. So here it looks very pretty. You got them all coming in like that. And my kids always call it the snail bread because they see all of this rolled up and sitting in lines when we're cooking at home. So they think it's really odd. Okay, so just cut it up into, with the scissors, into as many as you can.
Yeah, we
So
should
how is
have
this
a
going to,
taste.
how is everyone going to taste this?
We'll see if we get some spoons, I think. I think Lisa's in the back looking for some spoons.
Okay, fine. Spoons and bowls.
Spoons, oh right, and bowls. Let me get some bowls, one sec.
Are they going to have communal eating? Everybody comes in and dips the roti. I don't think that's very hygienic, but... So, does everyone make different kinds of korma? Does it look very different from this? But where are you from? Yeah, but wait, okay, that explains, yes. Yeah. Because the thing is that it's, when you think that, you're adding tomatoes to basically bulk it up, to kind of give it some body. And the reason I asked you where you're from is, try and think, why am I adding this? This is the version of korma that you get in Hyderabad and Lucknow, where nuts are more easily available. Also, they have a bit longer tradition, even though nuts are not local, they come from outside. But because of the old Mughal tradition and the Awadh tradition of cooking, nuts are there, so nuts are used. But, in Bengal, where nuts are not so easy, they use raisins to bulk it up, to make it look like it's thicker. Because there's just yogurt in this. There's nothing else, there's no potatoes, there's nothing else to give it. So yes, so in korma, when you see other people using different things, the biggest thing is, where are you from? Because it is, the thing that was easy to get, relatively cheap, and, available all the time, they use that. So, it's really about trying to bulk it up. In South India, I lived in Hyderabad for many years, but I also lived in Madras. They have versions of this. They use coconut, desiccated coconut or fresh coconut dried. Again, so their kind of salads are this kind of, you always need, there are two stages to our cooking. I always break it up, but I don't know why Indian food is not explained this way. There are two processes. One is when it is a very liquid stage, which is when you are cooking it. And then the finishing stage is when you add the extra bit. This is always, so the same with tarka and baghar, and with adding this last bit of, this is our final preparation stage. When it's not, you don't cook that much. It just goes. And it is stage 1 and stage 2. And stage 2 always is dead giveaway is which region you're from. So we're all very similar in South Asia, Pakistan, Bangladesh, India, when it comes to first stage of, so with garlic, ginger, onion, garam masala, all standard. Big difference happens in stage 2 of how that's when we put in our distinctive colors and look to it. I don't know.
I've got lots of bowls.
We have lots of bowls? Okay.
Yeah, so you can try it.
Yeah, people can try it, but I think we have not enough chicken. Oh, very good, you do it. Yes.
There we go.
Yeah. Asha, no, you can't have so much in each one.
Asha's being too generous.
No, because she's serving see how many people there, not everybody will eat, but still.
So that whole dish took, about 40 minutes? But I guess I was slowing you down asking you questions.
No, it's very quick. And the thing is, if it was with bone, it would not take much longer. It would be much nicer, have a lot more flavor, and, but it would not, the ones that are bigger, just cut them up.
So before...
You need another spoon. Okay,
Another
that's
spoon.
It's fine.
Before we try it, does anyone remember the thing that you shouldn't have powdered, otherwise you might die? There you go,
Yes!
garlic and ginger. Well done.
Well, I'm sorry, did I say you'll die?
Well,
Sorry.
you said it's death.
Okay.
You said you could eat sandwiches for dinner and you'll be fine.
Yeah.
But if you have powdered ginger, it's
No, because
death.
the thing is that, now, we are very bad, when scientists and, people in the West have examined our food and now tell us our food is healthy or it's healing and whatever. So now we're just much more aware. But the properties of ginger and garlic are so well known. From the time of Ayurveda to today, we all know how good it is. So you should use fresh because that's where the enzymes are. And the enzymes are released when you crush it. So, if you're using powdered or you're using that in a jar that's been preserved, yes. And have this in the spoons.
Thank you very much, Asma.
You're welcome, thank you.
Assalamu alaikum. Chasing you with the whole family.